Hey, yo, what's up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, Ashton Jackson, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing another mock draft video, and again, I did trades in this one as well. So before we hop into the video, I appreciate if you guys would like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment, and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content, man. And hopping straight into it, I'm showing you guys my first round board, and showing you what happened in the first round, and I'm going to be showing you guys who I traded with and what was traded and my thought process going into that. So as you guys already know, we pick in the 24th slot in the first round, and every single mock draft that I'm doing, I'm hoping that the Dallas Cowboys can do it, but I know for sure that I'm doing it because with us not really participating in the first few weeks of free agency and us not making any valuable trades to better this roster, I have to make moves in the draft and I have to trade back to accumulate more draft picks. That's our version of going all in, because since you didn't go all in free agency, you have to go in on the draft, which is kind of still ridiculous because you can't be relying on 21, 22, 23-year-old players to save your franchise and hopefully they can play like 7, 8-year veterans. It's not going to happen, but Dallas Cowboys can hope and wish that can happen, but more than likely it won't. So I traded with the Detroit Lions, and the reason why I traded with the Detroit Lions, and right here, they offered their pick at their first round pick, so we only moved back 5 spots in the first round. I stayed in the first round because that's realistic for the Dallas Cowboys, because they like having the 5-year flexibility option for any sort of player that they bring in, and if they meet up to expectations and they want to delay on giving them a major contract extension, they like to wait until July for training camp to do that. But that gives them an extra year to potentially save money or put money to the side. When you draft a guy in the first round and they're really great, you can put some money aside. That's their thinking of it. Regardless whether or not you still have to play that player top of the line market when he's a first round player. But, or if a guy doesn't pan out like a Leighton Vander Esch, if you're kind of skeptical on what he does and what he did throughout his career, you have that 5th year to have that evaluation period to say whether you bring him in or you let him go the following season. So with the details of the trade, all they wanted was our 24th pick and our 5th round pick and our 5th round compensatory pick, and they were willing to give up their current first round pick. So like again, I moved back only 5 spots, and they gave up their 3rd round pick, which was very valuable to me because again, having another 3rd round pick, and at first before I traded back in the 2nd round, I had my 1st round pick, which I selected Jordan Morgan, which I'm going to describe him in a minute. And then I had 2 2nd round picks and I had 2 3rd round picks, and then I had no 4th round picks. And since I was doing a 4-round mock, I was trying to get some 4th round picks, which I got 2 4th round picks due to the Minnesota Vikings, which I'm going to break down that trade in a little bit as well. But like I said, I'm going to keep trading back because we need as many picks as we can possible to repair this roster. Morgan for me is going to easily be offensive tackle, your left side player. He's going to be your starting your left tackle. You put him there and you don't have to worry about him for 10 years. That's how Jordan Morgan is for me. And I'm not worried about it all about his measurements. Some are viewing him as a guard, but when you're watching his tape tells you that he's an elite left tackle, and I'm not moving him from that spot. He's a left tackle, and him and Rashawn Slater had a lot of similarities coming into the draft process where, they're athletic tackles and they had great technique, and they had still can, have some technique issues be corrected on, as every player that is brought into the NFL can get helped on with their technique. Again, when you come into the league, you're not a finished product. So, development never stops, right? Whether that's in life, business, marketing, whatever you do, development never stops, right? So Jordan Morgan, of course, can have some things that can be fixed, but him being an explosive athlete, he has exceptional knee bend for his size, moves with a very stable center of gravity. Again, this is a really great left tackle. He has no problems at all. When I saw him on film, when I saw Vosh Lombardi break him down, which I'm going to put up on the screen right here, shout out to him. He had a great film breakdown when he broke down him versus Latu, who is one of the top two, top three best edge rushers coming out of this year's draft. And Joel Morgan, when he went up against them 7 times in 7 snaps, Joel Morgan had no problem at all with him, right? And Latu is a 6'6", 6'5", freakishly long athlete where he has long arms. He can bend. He has no problems playing DN at all. He's a really great defensive end, but the only reason why you see him fall down in draft boards is because of his health situation. But Joel Morgan, for me, has no problems with me. He's going to be your starting left tackle. Don't need to move him. You're going to have Tyler at guard. You're going to have Joel Morgan at tackle. Center, I already had that fixed in this mock draft. Right guard, you have Zach Martin. Right tackle, you have Tyron Steele. So once I reveal who I selected at center, you're easily going to be like, okay, well, this offensive line is back to where it needs to be. It's back to being young and youthful again. Now, the only thing you would want is, can Zach Martin bring you another year or two where he can bring Hall of Fame like production? And last year he was injury riddled, so hopefully this year he's not so with the injury bug. So you got to hope that he can bring back what he normally has been doing consistently, and hopefully that he can come in and bring that same production like he normally has been doing. And then you're going to want to bank on, does Terrence Steele have his legs underneath him, and can he not be a liability and pass protection, and can he bring something to you in the run game this year? And again, Terrence Steele had a great jump from between his first year to his second year. And his second year was really good in 2021, and then his third year in 2022 was elite. Had he not gotten hurt against the Texans, he would have possibly been a Pro Bowl-like player, possibly even an All-Pro type of player. He was having a really good year. And, again, Joel Morgan is going to be your left tackle for the future. He's patting his game after Tyron Smith. So, and then also I'm showing up his RAS score. If somebody if you guys love the graphs and everything like that, I don't really care. Like I said, I'm not really too big of a measurables guy, because you got to think about it. Steve Smith wasn't the biggest wide receiver, but when he played out there on that field, he played like one of the biggest wide receivers. He was making one of the biggest plays on the field more than anybody else was, whether it was his teammates or his opponents were making as biggest plays as he was. Cooper Kupp is not one of the fastest receivers in the league, but he's one of the best receivers in the league because of his route running and his tenacity, and how well he's able to play when he's not getting the ball, and run actions and things of that nature, and run blocking. He's a really great wide receiver. Same thing with Tyreek Hill. He's not the tallest receiver, but again, he can catch anything from a screen pass. You can hand it to him on jet sweeps. He's a liability to score a touchdown anywhere on the field. So for me, your measurables doesn't count for me. I don't really care how tall or how big you are. Just, can you play or can't you play? That's my thing, and that's how I evaluate some of these prospects. My second round pick, I had traded back with the Minnesota Vikings, and the Minnesota Vikings wanted the 56th pick, and then they wanted our 2025 7th round pick in exchange for two 4th round picks that they currently had, then a 5th round pick at 157, and then future draft compensation in 2025, which was the 3rd round pick, and then their 4th round pick of the following year. If that is kind of like a similar haul that the Dallas Cowboys can get, again, only moving 5 spots down, and you still end up getting a linebacker that you really desperately need on this defense, and Peyton Wilson, which I talked about endlessly. Talked about him last time. I'm going to show his film as well. A really great linebacker, truly sideline to sideline linebacker. He's a 6'4" athlete, has 4.4 speed, high IQ, an elite ball. He's a playmaker, can take the ball away, can pass rush when you need him to, can blitz on blitzing downs, on pass rush downs. He can get to the quarterback. Again, he can chase down your quarterback from the opposite hash and go meet your quarterback and only have it be a gain of 1 to 2 when it could have been a gain of 5 or 6 if he was a slower linebacker. Again, just a really great linebacker. Not too much I really need to say about him. The only reason why he's falling as much as he is because of health concerns. I'm not really too concerned about his health because the past 2 years he's been injury-free. Hasn't had any injuries, but to start out his first 2 years at NC State, he did face some injuries, and those were mostly lower body injuries with his ACL. Again, I understand that we do have scares with linebackers and lower body issues, but I'm willing to take a chance on Peyton Wilson because, we still have DeMar Van Overshown. We have Eric Kendricks, who we brought back in. Damone Clark, hopefully he can get another step out of him. And then, of course, you're probably going to get another linebacker and day 3, whether that is your 5th round pick, 6th round pick, 7th round pick, a project that you can potentially turn into a starting or just a rotational linebacker. So Peyton Wilson will fit with Mike Zimmer. I have no problem with that at all. So again, I moved down 5 spots. I picked the linebacker that I desperately needed for this team, and I got your linebacker one who can pair next to Eric Kendricks. In the 3rd round, I selected Devontae Walker, wide receiver out of UNC. He's a 6'1" athlete. He has great long speed, just a very fast wide receiver. This is definitely a guy that can be your number 2 replacement once Brandon Cooks leaves. And again, when you think about this this passing unit, it comes down to 3 people. CeeDee Lamb, who just had almost 200 targets last year, a really great year last year, as we all know. But he had a really good high year in terms of targets and catches, everything of that nature. So he's definitely going to be a guy that's going to get the bulk of the receiving yards and receiving catches and targets and everything of that nature. Then 2 is probably going to be between Ferguson or Cooks, depending on how the coverages are being dictated. But more than likely, your number 2 option is going to be Jake Ferguson. And then your 3rd option is going to be Brandon Cooks. Like I said, that's interchangeable depending on the coverages and who we play and who decides to slack on a certain athlete. But for me, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, wide receiver is a very sneaky need, and this is something that you need to be looking at because you only have you still have to extend CeeDee Lamb, which you're most likely going to do in Oxnard in July. Brandon Cooks is on a 1-year deal. You're going to have Jake Ferguson for a while. You're going to have him for a while. But then other than that, you have Jalen Tolbert, who's a question mark. You have Jalen Brooks, who is a 7th round pick. So you have a lot of question marks at that wide receiver going in 2025. So you might as well think ahead and get your wide receiver now, who can be a long, deep speed receiver. You can put him right now in the slot, and he can still be a really great difference maker for you. And this is definitely somebody that I'm eyeing. I'm eyeing the wide receiver position as well because I will be kind of upset if we go in this draft without taking one of these wide receivers, whether that's Malachi Corley out of Western Kentucky, or that's Javon Baker out of UCF, Jermaine Burton out of Bama, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan. Who else? If you're missing out, Keon Coleman, if you're missing out on some of these wide receivers, I'm kind of going to be mad if you miss out on them because we have too many needs to take care of. But if we trade back, that gives us flexibility to draft another position that we always wanted, whether that's another linebacker, double dipping at offensive line, double dipping at wide receiver, or double dipping at running back, whatever the case may be. We'll be able to double dip once we're able to trade back. So Devontae Walker, definitely will get him, scoop him up, and put him on our team. And then for our 4th round, which I got, in my opinion, 2 steals. Dwayne Carter, I already talked about in length in my last video. 6'2", 3 technique. He can fly upfield. He's 303 pounds. He can help you out in the run game. This is definitely somebody that I want to add to this football team that can help Osa Odighizuwa. And then you have Mozzie Smith. And don't forget, I just wanted to be throwing bodies at the defensive tackle position. But Dwayne Carter can definitely be a rotational defensive tackle for you day 1 once you get into this draft process. Tanner Bornolini, really great center. He's a 6'4", 303-pound lineman. Really great strength guy. He's athletic. He can dig people out of gaps and things of that nature. He can get to the second level with no problem. He can maul people as a mauler. I love what he can bring to this offensive line. Again, having that center at the middle of your offensive line that can be stout and that can play for you for the next 10 years, who has high IQ, high strength, can move people out of gaps. I need that out of my center as much as I possibly can. And you can't really go bad with a Wisconsin center. Travis Frederick was Travis Frederick, but Tyler Bosch wasn't as what we hoped him to be. But he was a very solid 4-year starter for you. So, having Tanner Bornolini coming from that Wisconsin machine of offensive line, having him in here will be a really great steal for us in the 4th round. He provides that offensive line flexibility that the Dallas Cowboys love. So having him, bringing him in at center, and having him start at center, and then again, now your offensive line is complete once you select a guy like Tanner Bornolini, along with having a guy like Jordan Morgan. Like I said, with me being able to trade back, I was able to double down on picks and able to fix up and patch some of these needs that we have. So in this draft alone, right, I was able to get a left tackle, a starting left tackle, a starting linebacker, a wide receiver that can be your wide receiver three, Dwayne Carter, a rotational defensive tackle who can start for you or can be a rotation piece, and then you got a starting center. So within my 5 picks that I selected, I got 5 starters or 5 rotational pieces. For sure, starters, if we're just talking about starters, we have 4 starters with Morgan, Wilson, Devontae Walker, and Tanner Bornolini. So I have 4 starters with Dwayne Carter being a possible rotational or a guy that can start for you depending on how well he develops between May basically and August. So what he shows in preseason, training camp, things of that nature, if he stays healthy, this is definitely a guy that can be a rotational piece for you. Morgan, left tackle piece that's going to be able to stay for you for the next 10 plus years, will be your Tyron Smith replacement. I'm not worried about his measurables. His tape says he can deal with the explosive defensive ends that might come his way. I have no problems with that at all. Peyton Wilson, linebacker, 1B in my opinion, 1A for me is Edgerrin Cooper. Peyton Wilson will definitely start for you next to Eric Kendricks. Devontae Walker, elite, speedy wide receiver. I would love to have him in this offense, and we can send him on the routes that we normally would for Brandon Cooks and clear out routes. We can put him on jet sweeps, toss screens to him. He'll take it to the house. He has elite speed. Tanner Bornolini, starting center, can dig people in and out of gaps. Have no problem with him at all, man. And this is now your new starting 5 will be Morgan, Tyler Smith, Bortolini, Martin, and Steele. Your linebacking room is going to be Peyton Wilson 1, Eric Kendricks, DeMarvin Overshown, Damone Clark, and whoever else we want to fill in at that 5th spot. Devontae Walker with CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks learning from great veterans, and having him be your 4th option is really great, and getting that in the 3rd round will be awesome. So that's about it for the video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.